when we talk about primary cares and what's happened, the same thing with pharmacies where they've been gobbled up by insurance companies if they're in the insurance model is the same thing that happened with primary care practices. The day of a primary care being independent and a free thinker is over. They're employed by hospital systems. Major conglomerates have gone out and bought up the primary care practice. Why? Because now they have the patient population. If I can get you at the primary care level, then I can control the referral of where that primary care sends you as we profiteer off your disease state. Okay, so you go to a primary care. Let's just walk through the same example I gave earlier, a methylfolate test. They never run that test, right? There's genetics. The methylfolate test tells me my genetics, but there's epigenetics. The choices I make every day impact which genes turn on and which genes turn off. If nobody ever has a conversation with me in my 30s about my hormone levels, about getting into the sun, about eating right, and you push me towards chronic disease because you wrote me a prescription to treat a symptom, and now I go through this system and I get cancer, that primary care is going to refer me to an oncologist. And that oncologist is part of that same system, right? And most people don't know this. 65% of an oncologist's income comes from chemotherapy, from the markup they're making off your chemotherapy. 65%. And I attached that link, Jamie, too, where it talks about this. So all I'm getting at is, Russell Brand said this, and he was spot on. Another guy who's not a clinician but understood what's going on here. If we make things about profits and quarterly earnings and big business and not patient outcomes, don't be shocked when we get phenomenal quarterly earnings and piss poor patient outcomes.
65%.
65. And I attached the link just so we'd have it.
So they have a financial incentive.
Yeah. So this is an article where they were trying to, the insurance companies were trying to incentivize them to use a generic in this instance, because this is one of those issues where there's no rebate and no way for the insurance company to monetize it. But it breaks down how much money these guys, 65% of an oncologist's income comes from that.
Wow. This is incredible.
And so I say all this again because I don't think that a clinician's to blame. I don't think that they're just operating in the system that they're given. They're playing with the playing field that's been set before them and the rules of the game that have been set before them. But when patients say, why would I go to Peter Attia? Why would I go to Gary Brecka? Why would I go to Ways to Well? Why would I go to a cash pay clinic? You will not get these treatment modalities, and you will not have these conversations, and you will not do that deep dive. So in a dream world, what I'm envisioning as we build this multidisciplinary institute here in Austin and we open these facilities across the country is a lot of the care will be virtual and will be managed from the comfort of your own home, driven by large language models that are tying into your wearables and all those things we talked about earlier. But we first have to establish a baseline. What do I mean by that? If budget was no constraint and you could afford $1,200, I would say you come in, you do a DEXA, you do a VO2 max. Those two data sets alone allow us to calculate your all-cause mortality risk. I know how much visceral fat you have. I know how much subcutaneous fat you have. I know how much lean muscle mass you have on your left quad versus your right quad. I know your bone mineral density. Then we add in a VO2 max test. If you can be in the top 25% of VO2 max, you reduce all-cause mortality by 400%. Okay, so now you combine that with a DEXA. Now you combine that with a gut biome. Now you combine that with a gene test where we know what genes you have, what are your genetics. Now we can help guide you on how to prevent epigenetics, how to prevent and use epigenetics to prevent disease states from chronically manifesting. And we can truly get proactive and predictive. We can truly prevent chronic disease.